and no one warned me that you should not read this book in public before I read it in public. I had a rough month, okay? And we'll talk about it. You cried? I'm like, yeah, it was awful, but it's a good book. Hello everyone, I'm Rosa. Welcome to the channel. I hope you're all having an absolutely amazing day. So we are doing another monthly wrap up. I love doing these videos. Honestly, I look forward to doing them every month now. Just, you know, sit down and nerd a little bit about books and just talk about them and stuff. I really fully enjoy them. I'm looking forward to them every month. So I am also the kind of person who reads a lot when I'm a little bit stressed, and this month has been, or the last month has been a little bit, it's been a lot. So I read a total of 13 books. We have some stuff to go through. Let's get started. So I mentioned having read this book, A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas, during the last video, the last reading wrap up. I finished it in August. Did I say September before? We're in September now, right? This is the August reading wrap up, okay. But I mentioned having read this in July in that wrap up, finished it at the start of August, and I wasn't really ready to talk about it. I still don't feel like I fully am, but we're gonna do it anyway. So, how do I summarize what happens in this book without spoiling anything from the previous Echo Tar books? I don't think I can. I don't think I can, actually. Fully. So before I do the summary, I will say that this was a 4 to 4.5 for me out of 5, and that if you have read some of the other Echo Tar books, you may be familiar with the character Nesta, and maybe you're not a big fan of her as a character. She is a little bit hard to like at times. I don't mind her personally, so I feel like this book was actually quite nice. But if you don't like her, you're gonna have a hard time with this one because it's written from her point of view. Half of it at least. And I also see why some people would say that the book is written to kind of justify some of the things that she says, but also make excuses for her behavior at times. I honestly don't think so. It's more like explain what goes on in Nesta's head. But anyway, so I'm gonna put a spoiler warning now if you've not read the previous Echo Tar books. Skip ahead to the next book because I will have to talk a little bit about, it's hard to summarize what happens in this one without spoiling anything. So spoiler warning, skip ahead. I've added chapters in the timeline down below so you can just click and you'll skip on to the next one, which is 6 Crimson Cranes. So anyway, one more spoiler warning, just okay, let's go. So in one of the other Echo Tar books, I think it's the second one. Yeah, it's the second one. Okay. Faeries, I almost said daughters. What? Faeries' sisters are also turned into fairies. They're thrown into this cauldron and they come out as fairies. And obviously, Nesta did not want to be a fairy. She still kind of clings on to being a human, even though she's not anymore. And then also at the end of the third book, Wings in Ruin, she witnesses her dad's neck get snapped. So she's both traumatized from being forced to become a fairy, but also traumatized from witnessing the death of her dad, which is fully understandable. And throughout this book, she's kind of dealing with that, but she's clearly depressed at the start. She's clearly depressed. So what they do, the other fairies of the inner circle, they decide to take her to the House of Winds, I think it's called. And she's forced to train with Cassian, who she's there's some friction there. I don't know exactly how to put it. But the two don't always get along, but at the same time they also get along. It's a weird one to explain. Is it an enemies to lover situation? Kind of, but so she's forced to both train with Cassian but also work at the library, which is in Velaris, and she makes friends. She does stuff with Cassian, and oh my gosh, why did it feel like I read this book 3 months ago all of a sudden? That's all I think I'm gonna say because I don't want to spoil everything that happens. So, oh yeah, the reason that it's called Silver Flames, I completely forgot. It's because Nesta came back with some powers. So there's also a situation going on there that they kind of... I feel like I've never done a summary worse than this one. I'm not gonna lie. But I feel like it's also because... and we'll get to that. Okay, I'm gonna get my hair up. If you remember the queens from the other Echo Tar books, they're still kind of in the mix. There's a lot of stuff going on. But I'm not gonna say too much more because I really don't want to spoil anything if you're counting on reading it. I will, however, warn you, and I probably should have said this before I put a spoiler warning, but this is not new adult. It's definitely not young adult, which I did not know going into it. It is straight up adult. Let me just tell you guys a bit of a traumatic situation that I was in reading this book. You should not read this book in public. And no one warned me that you should not read this book in public before I read it in public. So you kind of get, like, there's a lot of smut in this, and it's very detailed smut, and it's very not gentle. So I came across the first smut scene, thought, okay, that's fine, whatever. It was pretty early on as well, so I figured, you know what, we're safe. I read like 20 pages more, and then I thought, I'll quit it for today. I'll bring it on the ferry tomorrow, it'll be fine. And then I brought it on the ferry and I started reading. I was sitting next to my mom, surrounded by people. There was a little guy kicking the chair from behind me, and I was not safe. I don't know how else to put it. Don't read this in public, okay? I've warned you guys, don't read it in public. But it was quite fun. It was a fun read. Like I said, 4 to 4.5. I'm kind of undecided, but I did enjoy it. I still love the characters. It was nice to read something from Nesta and Cassian's point of view. And I'm looking forward to seeing where this series is gonna go now. So I don't like these covers though, but that's another talk. So anyway. Yeah, Court of Silver Flames, done. Let's hope I summarize the next one a little bit better because that was awful. So next up, we have Six Crimson Cranes. This book came out in July. I believe it's a US cover, by the way. You might have seen another one. Same book. It's by Elizabeth Lim. And this is a YA fantasy with, would you call this a high fantasy? YA fantasy, high fantasy? It's set in its own world. We have a magic system. We have dragons. It's super cute. I just needed to read something a little bit less smutty, to be honest, after going through A Court of Silver Flames. I just don't do well with too much smut all the time. It's just not something that I can do. So I decided to read this one, and it was a nice a fresh breath of air after reading that. Less trauma, less heavy subjects, less smut. So anyway, in this one we follow Shiori, who is a princess in the kingdom of, or kingdom? Would you call it a kingdom? I'm gonna call it a kingdom. In the kingdom of Lorien? Lorien. I don't know, something like that. Basically in this world, magic is forbidden, but Shiori actually is not a witch. She has magic. She has magical powers. You find this out very early on because she has a little paper bird called Kiki that she's put to life. So it's her friend, basically. She lives with her dad, her stepmother, and her 6 brothers. And one day, her stepmother turns, I don't think this is a spoiler, I'm pretty sure it says so in the summary. Her stepmother turns her brothers into Crimson Cranes and also puts a curse on Shiori because, or so that she can't talk and she's stuck with a bowl on her head so people can't recognize her. And then the story kind of goes that she has to find a way to lift this curse, and there's some stuff with the kingdom being in danger as well. It's a very cute story. I fully enjoyed this. I love the characters as well. Shiori is a very charming girl. This is also the first one in a duology, I think. I thought it was a standalone, but it is not. It's a duology, so it definitely reads as not a standalone because it kind of stops abruptly, but I'm looking forward to reading this next one. It's a retelling, by the way, of a Chinese myth. I think it's a Chinese, or is it just Asian, maybe East Asian myth that I don't really know. Sorry, but you can look into it. Something about Crimson Cranes or something about 6 cranes, I suppose. Oh, this is Kiki, by the way. This little paper bird right there, that is Kiki. So, but very cute story. I enjoyed this a lot. It's well written, of course, very magical. Looking forward to the next one. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I read this very, very quickly as well. Like very quickly. But I really enjoyed it, so I can highly recommend it if you want to read something a little bit lighter, something a little bit more happy, and something YA fantasy. So yeah, there's a little bit of romance in it too, but not too much. So, okay, what is too much romance, she asks? I don't know. Okay, now we're getting into some, do I have something on my nose? Wait, what? Yeah, okay, anyway, I don't know. But we're getting into some, I'm already holding up the book. I had a rough month, okay, and we'll talk about it. So, okay, before I summarize this one, I will just say that I have only ever cried to one movie in my life. That was Moulin Rouge, and I was maybe 8. I have never cried to a series. I usually don't cry to music sometimes, except Hamilton. But Hamilton is, I don't know, it's the orphanage. It just kind of hits me every single time. So anyway, I'm not usually one to cry a lot. I wish I was, to be honest. I wish I could feel emotions when reading these stories and stuff to the point where I really feel it like that, but I'm just not that kind of person. I wish I was though. But Heartless by Marissa Meyer. So this is not a full-on retelling, it's a prequel, if you will. It's a story of how the Queen of Hearts became the Queen of Hearts. If you've ever read Alice in Wonderland, or if you have watched the movies, because there's been a couple, you would know Queen of Hearts. She is a bit of a tough one. Very like off with your head and all that stuff. Yeah. It's been a while since I've watched the movie actually, so don't fully remember her super well, but it's considered a retelling. It's YA, it's standalone, fantasy, and it's set in this very funny Wonderland world. What's it called? Hearts? Yeah, it's called Hearts. So you follow Catherine, what's her name? Catherine. Okay, Catherine, who is the daughter of someone with a lot of money. Yeah, so there are expectations of girls of her status that she's supposed to marry rich and she's supposed to be a good wife and you know, all that stuff, just like it was in the old days. Think that it's not like that anymore. Okay, we can marry who we want. Well, at least for some of us. I suppose it's still like that somewhere. I don't know, I'm sorry. But we follow Catherine, who is of higher status and expected to be a good wife once she marries, and she's supposed to marry of high status too. And we go to a ball, a royal ball. The King of Hearts is throwing a ball that Catherine and her parents have been invited to. Her mother is like fussing over Catherine before they go to this royal ball. There's some stuff going on. As it turns out, the King of Hearts is actually planning on proposing to Catherine, but she does not want to marry the King of Hearts because Catherine wants to marry out of love, I'm assuming. And also she wants to open a bakery and kind of be, you know, a working lady. So she doesn't want to marry the King of Hearts. So at this royal ball, she comes across the new court joker called Jest, and he also kind of saves her when she runs away when the king is about to propose to her. And, you know, one thing leads to another. They start to secretly court each other. Is that how you say that? Date, if you will, date. And they fall in love, but that's all I'm gonna say. It's not a happy story. It's quite heartbreaking, and if you're in for a good cry, maybe read this one. If you're not, stay away from it. It was quite cute though. I like the world of Wonderland. I think it's awesome. Can we just appreciate how this looks? Like the Naked Heart or the Naked Book. It looks so cool. Anyway, I went into it knowing that I was gonna be a bit on the sad side because it's, you know, you're telling a story of a character that we know is not a good person. So it's kind of, yeah. Anyway, I recommend this one. If you want something that touches, or that is touching, that touches you, just sounds all kinds of wrong. If you want something touching to read, something on the lighter side as well, it was not hard to read this one is what I mean. It's quite quirky and fun, but also sad. Definitely pick up this one. I enjoyed it quite a lot. I'll definitely reread this in the future at some point. So that was Heartless by Marissa Meyer. I think I gave it a 4 out of 5, by the way. Yeah, and I still want to read the Lunar Chronicles, but I still haven't done it. I know. And now we get to the hard part. Yeah, that was not the hard part. Okay. Like I said, I am not usually a crier, but this hit me. I got wet eyes, which in itself, like, okay. My heart was broken. I went to bed feeling, I read it, finished it before falling asleep, and I was not feeling all that great. So the next day when I decided to pick up my next book to read, I was like, I need something action-packed. I need something not set in a world or a time where women were married off for money, you know, that sort of stuff. I just needed something a little bit lighter and a little bit more action-packed, a little bit less romancy. So I was like, and this is, if you, hold on a second, you'll know why I'm laughing in just a second. If you've read these books, you'll know. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna jump into the Shadowhunter universe because Shadowhunters are badass. It's gonna be action-packed. It's gonna be fun. And then I picked up the Infernal Devices, which I don't regret reading them, but They were not that, okay? They were action-packed. These are very fast-paced. As per Shadowhunter books, you know, they're fast-paced, action-packed, but also very heavy on the romance. And my gosh, I kind of knew where it was going, and I cried. I cried when I read this one, the third one. It made me cry. I went to Copenhagen the next day and I told my mom and she was like, you cried? And I'm like, yeah, it was awful, but it's a good book. It's a really good book. So anyway, in these books, if you are not familiar with the Shadowhunter universe, I'm kind of expecting you guys to be because it's been around for a while, and also the books are very, very popular. But if you're not familiar with the Shadowhunter universe, Shadowhunters are demon slayers. They're half angels, half human, and they're kind of here to, it's an urban fantasy, but also historical fiction. Anyway, they're kind of here to protect humans, the mundane, from demons, vampires, werewolves, anyone who doesn't follow the rules of the clave. So that's what they do. It's a very fascinating universe, so definitely recommend you check it out if you haven't. These are YA, romance, urban fantasy, but historical fiction because they're set in the Victorian age in London. So like, I think it's 1878, right? London, April 1878. Okay. In these ones, I've read The Mortal Instruments as well, but in these ones, you follow Tessa Gray, who is American. Her brother has gone to London and she kind of gets a weird message from him, so she goes there to find him, I suppose. But she's taken prisoner by two ladies that are not very nice to her, and she notices that she has powers to shapeshift. That's not a spoiler, you learn it pretty early on. We're talking like first chapter, okay. And then she gets rescued by Will Herondale and James Carstairs, or William Herondale and James Carstairs. Will and Jem, who are now my babies. Along with Tessa. I like Tessa quite a lot too. For the rest of the story, oh yeah, there's steampunk elements too. So it's like, there's science fiction elements too to it. It's quite cool. It has a little bit of everything. Because there is, you know, a whole clockwork stuff, steampunk army, just kind of threatening to take over stuff, and they gotta stop them. So hey, read these books if you haven't already. Read them. They're amazing. I love them. This was a 4, a 4.5, and a straight up 5 because if a book makes me cry, then it deserves a 5 stars. Like straight up cry. It deserves 5 stars. So I love these books now. I can't wait to reread them again in the future at some point. They were absolutely amazing. I've owned these books. Look how yellow they are. I've owned these books since 2016 and I'd still not read them. What is wrong with me? So after that, I decided I needed to read something a little bit less historical fiction because now I'd been in that world for a while. I needed to read something less fantasy because I've been in several worlds for a while. So I started reading Firekeeper's Daughter, which is a YA, I would say heavy YA. So like read up some trigger warnings on this one on this one singular, because there's some stuff in this one that if you have any triggers whatsoever, read up on them for this one. I don't want to say what they are because obviously that would be spoiling. Drugs is one, that's not a spoiler, so yeah, but just read up on trigger warnings for this one because it's definitely a heavier one. So, but still YA though. We're following, oh my gosh, Donis? Oh, she was saying that's not how you pronounce it. Donis Fontaine. She is half white and half native. She lives in Canada. It's actually, oh my gosh, I forgot to say, Cassandra Clare. Okay, that is so good. Okay, Angeline Boulley. I'm expecting this to be pronounced in a French kind of way, so Boulley. My camera stopped recording. Rude. But the author is actually from the same area as far as I've gathered, so you could say that it's inspired by her story as well, although I'm pretty sure that some of the stuff that happened in this one, she's not, like, but it's still, like, hopefully you get what I mean. I don't know how to put it into words. Okay. She's from the area, though, that this takes place in. But anyway, you follow Donis, who is she a high school student? She's 18? I think she's 18. She has a hard time kind of feeling like she fully fits in, both with the white people, but also with the native people in this area because she's half-half. So she's of mixed heritage. So that is a point in this book, throughout this book, where that is a story point throughout this book. But also there's some drug issues happening in the area that she lives in. And someone is murdered at the start of the book. Or not at the start. You gotta keep reading a little bit to get to the heavier stuff. Where everything just kind of takes a turn. It's not a spoiler though, because it's in the synopsis. But anyway, someone gets murdered. And in a twist, Danis decides that, or is asked by the FBI if she wants to help being a, what's one of those secret people called? An informant? One of those secret informants. I forgot, there is a term for that, but I completely forgot it. But anyway, so she starts working with the FBI to solve this whole mystery of what's going on with the drugs in this area. And it's very interesting, both because I'm from Denmark. Like, it's interesting because you learn about a whole different culture throughout this book. I'm not saying that reading this book will make you an expert, but it's definitely nice to get some insight into people that live in a different way than you do yourself. So that was super cool in this one. The story is quite, I was almost about to say charming. It's definitely not charming, but it's a good story. It's just charming is not the right word to use. Bit on the heavy side, like I said before, so definitely that is something to keep in mind before you pick this up. It was also recommended by Reese Witherspoon, which I did not know when I picked this up. So that is quite cool. I will say something that's annoyed me a little bit with this one was, and that's just the book itself. I cannot open it more than this, which I'm not used to when it comes to hardbacks. Like, it was really rough to read, but it is a good story. Definitely recommend you check it out. It's YA, but on the heavier side, contemporary mystery thriller, I would say, as well, and you get some nice insight into different cultures, or a different culture than the one that you necessarily are used to normally. That was such a weird sentence. I gave it a 4 out of 5 because I would have given it a 4.5 out of 5, but it has quite a slow start. So just keep that in mind. You may have to keep reading for a little bit longer before you get to the good stuff. So, but a 4 out of 5 from me for this one. But definitely check up on trigger warnings because there's some heavy stuff in this one. So, okay. But that was Firekeeper's Daughter. I actually bought that last month and I'm really happy that I read it already. It's a good read. So what do we have next? All right, yeah, okay. So it's not a surprise, right, that I love redheads in books. There's not a lot of us out there, okay. So I just love coming across redheads in books, and I know that's not super hard because authors, especially when it comes to fantasy, love to include redheads. It's a thing, but I'm personally grateful for it because there's not a lot of us. So when I saw these covers, I mean, this is beautiful. This is absolutely beautiful. She normally has a spot, you can't see the shelf, but it's up there in the corner where she just this is Fable, by the way, where she's just, she stands there with her full face and she looks super cute. But after reading Firekeeper's Daughter, I knew that I needed something a little bit lighter because it is quite heavy, or some of the subjects in that book are quite heavy. So I decided to read Fable and also Namesake by Adrienne Young. I've also ordered The Last Legacy, which should be on its way here actually right now, which is kind of connected to these books, but you don't have to, as far as I've understood, you don't have to read Fable and Namesake to read The Last Legacy. I'll update you guys on that. It's on my September TBR, so I'll update you guys on that at the end of this month. But in these books, you follow Fable, who is a 17-year-old who's been abandoned on an island, on an island by her dad, who is basically like the trade king of the Narrows, which is the area that this takes place in, but she's stuck on an island in the middle of the Narrows. She can't get off it, and she's kind of just been told, figure it out, okay? Just, figure it out. If you can get off this island, I'll give you what I owe you. So she sets out to get off the island and track down her dad. And I think that's all I'm gonna say. It's an adventure. It is YA fantasy. There's a cute map as well that I'm gonna show you guys. I think it's in the first one. Here we go. The Narrows. I always love when these books come with maps. Like, they're so cute. How much can you see? I don't want it to focus on my face. Anyway, so I showed this to my mom and she said that it reminded her of some area in Greece. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. But she was like, oh my gosh, it looks like the area in Greece with the fingers. And I was like, okay, Mom, I'll take your word for it. But anyways, super cute read. both of them light on the lighter side. I read these really quickly as well. Just cute. There's a little bit of romance in there too. I mean, okay, there's a little bit more romance. It's YA fantasy romance adventure as well, and we have pirates too. I needed something with water too. It was just perfect. So I really enjoyed reading these ones. They're both a 4 out of 5 from me. And if you're looking for something that takes place in the water but still, or on the water, not in the, well, also in the water I suppose. There's some diving going on as well in these books. Yeah, on the water with pirates, and it's just fun. Definitely pick these up. Totally Coincidental are also recommended by Reese Witherspoon. I did not realize that when I don't like that there's like a, it's not even a sticker. I can't take it off, but yeah, I did not realize that when I picked them up. It was quite funny. So, oh yeah, her name is Fable. I kind of expected there to be a little bit more magic in these books than there was, but I'm not mad about it. So it's okay, you're forgiven. But she's super cute. I love Fable. She's a character who stuck with me after I read the books, and I like them. Very easy to digest, but still an epic story nonetheless. So definitely recommend. Okay, thumbs up. Great. Next up, I needed to read something a little bit more contemporary because, actually I'm not sure. I just wanted to read something a little bit more contemporary. So I decided to pick up Heart Bones by Colleen Hoover, who I've read a couple of books from, like Slammed, I think, and some other ones I don't remember right now. Well, that's awkward. Some other books. She is a very good contemporary romance author. Kind of mostly sways toward new adult, I would say, but also has some young adult titles if you want to check those out. But this one, wait, someone is peeing. Hold on a second. I don't mean me, by the way. It's my neighbor. Their bathroom is on the other side of the wall. Sometimes I can hear them. Oh my gosh. But this one, I would say, is more on the new adult side. Yeah. Sometimes for me, because I'm older, I'm old. I'm an old lady by now, but sometimes I feel like it's hard to differ between like old YA and younger new adult, but I think this one is new adult. It's contemporary romance. Is there mystery in it? Would you say it's, or is it just YA, or not YA, new adult contemporary romance? There's drugs in it, so just be aware of that and check up on other trigger warnings before you jump into this one as well, because there's some other stuff that I don't want to get into because I don't want to spoil anything. But in this one you follow Bea, who's 19 years old. Yeah, it's a new adult. And this is not a spoiler, by the way, but her mom died of an overdose at the very start of the book. Why am I laughing? That's not funny. What? She dies of an overdose at the very start of the book. So Bea takes off to live with her dad, who lives with his new family in a rich area of, oh my gosh, Texas? Texas! Oh, how did I remember that? Man, okay. She's from Kentucky, by the way. But she takes off to live with her dad for a while, who lives in Texas in a rich area by the beach with his new family, so his new wife and also her daughter. Her daughter is so nice, by the way. I love that character. She's so nice. I also love Bea quite a lot. But in this new area, she doesn't feel like she fits in because she has, obviously, with her mom being a drug addict, she has not had the best upbringing. She's not had a lot of money. Sometimes she didn't have money to eat and stuff, so she's not really used to being pampered. She's not used to being around fancy things and expensive cars and I don't know, clothes not from Walmart, I think was a point as well. And she's a little bit presumptuous, is that the right word? She has prejudice towards some of these people in the area. But her new stepsister has a boyfriend whose name I cannot remember. Marcos. Okay, Marcos. Marcos? Why does that sound so weird when I pronounce it? Marcos? Marcus? Okay, anyway, and he has a friend called Samson who lives next door. And he's super handsome, he's tall, I think he's blonde, super charming dude. But Bea is kind of drawn towards Samson, but at the same time, you know, he's a rich kid. Can they get along, you know? But anyway, they soon find out that money is one of the few things they don't have in common, and then I'll not tell you the rest of the story. It's a good book, very touching. I would say it's kind of mysterious as well. There's a little bit of mystery in it, I suppose. But if you're looking for something contemporary and new adult D, not too smutty, but cute at the same time, touching, sad, a little on the heavier side as well because of some of the subjects it touches on, such as drug addiction and death of family members. You know, Heartbones by Colleen Hoover is quite a good one. I enjoyed this. I think I gave it a 4 out of 5 as well. I had a good month until I had a good month, okay? Bit of a heavier read too, but I quite like this one. So, Heartbones by Colleen Hoover. And now we are jumping into where everything just kind of went wrong. Because I read Serpent Dove, which I loved. I gave it a 4 out of 5. We'll talk about that. But then I also read Blood and Honey and Gods and Monsters, and we'll talk about those too, because that was a whole different thing. So anyway, in Serpent and Dove, you follow, these are, I would say they're new adult, simply because of how descriptive they are when it comes to certain stuff, and also a little bit brutal and language. So I would say they're new adult. On Goodreads, they're marked as young adult, but I still think they're new adult. I don't know. I think she's also 18, so it's kind of crossed past 17. I feel like 17 is a good, like, this is where the line is from young adult to new adult, but I don't really know. Like I said earlier, I don't really know. This is fantasy, romance, magic, witches, later on some other stuff, paranormal, you know, that sort of situation. It's set in its own world, which is called Belterra, which is actually a wordplay on Belle Terre, which means beautiful world. There's a lot of French in these ones, which I quite enjoyed. As someone who understood it, I quite enjoyed it. But you follow Lou and Reed, Lou is a witch. And she is not just any witch. She is the daughter of La Dame de Saugère. Is it Le Dame or Le Dame? I think it's just, why is it not La Dame? Is it La Dame? See, I don't remember, but Dame de Saugère, which is, or who is, a very powerful witch and touched by the gods or something. I don't know. She has some powers, okay? And unfortunately, her mom wants to kill her. Or, I'm sorry, YouTube, unalive her, please. So Louise runs off to Césarine, where she stays in a theater to, you know, survive with her friend Cosette, also known as Coco, who is also a witch, but she is a blood witch, whereas Louise is a white witch. There's the red witches and blood witches. Two different kinds of witches. It's quite, there's a lot going on. Story, okay, moving on with the story. In Césarine, she comes across Reed Diggory, who is a witch hunter, a chasseur, and some stuff happens that just kind of, I don't want to say exactly what happens, but they are forced into a marriage by the archbishop, and she is forced to live among the chasseurs in the tower in Césarine, which she's okay with, by the way, because she's on the run from her mom. So where's the best place to hide? Obviously among the witch hunters. Who's gonna kill her when she gets there? I'm sorry, unalive her. I don't know why I keep correcting myself after I've said it. Damage has been done. So she's like, yeah, this is a good place to be for me as a witch. I should be among witch hunters. Right, so she's just keeping her status as a witch. I feel like I always said sandwich. I don't know. She's keeping her witch status a secret, but she's also forced to share a room with Reed now that they're married and stuff. It's quite funny. It's very charming. I really love Louise as a character. Reed you warm up to him, I would say. Also, he's a redhead, so he gets extra points from you just for that. But it's very charming. Their chemistry is quite funny in the first one, and I love the whole like forced proximity with the forced marriage, and you know, we got a oops, there's only one bed kind of trope going on here as well. It's enemies to lovers. Very tropey, but it's super fun. So this one, the first one, was a good read for me. I will point out that considering it's a 500-page book, it's a trilogy, I feel like the magic system and the world as well should have been a little bit more described in the first one. They should have touched on it a little bit more, explained it a little bit more, but just because the characters, how funny and well written they are, I enjoyed this quite a lot, and I'm willing to give it a 4.5 out of 5 because of that, despite the magic system kind of being a little bit like what's going on, and also the world kind of being like, what does it look like? So this was quite a good one. I would highly recommend that you read just this one and then look past any kind of cliffhangers at the end, because Blood and Honey and Gods and Monsters. I'm not gonna summarize them just in case you want to read them anyway, but I did not enjoy these. This one the least. It is frustrating. They travel around a lot. There's not much going on. We got some miscommunication going on as well, or lack of communication, no communication whatsoever, and it just gets to a point where it's just frustrating. It's not fun anymore, so I'm gonna stop talking because otherwise I'm just gonna end up spoiling something. And then the same in this one. It takes quite a lot of time to get to the good points again. The ending in this one I was okay with. The last like 300 pages I enjoyed, but the first 300 I had a hard time getting through them because, and that's not because, hold on, that is not because on its own it wouldn't have been good, but it's because it's after this one. This one kind of ruined this one for me. So I had to fight my way through Blood and Honey and then also through the first 300 pages of Gods and Monsters, which just kind of is a shame because Serpent and Dove was such a good book and the characters are so charming. Like Louise is such a good character. So that was really frustrating. But Serpent and Dove on its own, I don't remember if there's a cliffhanger. Hold on, I'm just gonna check. Yeah, I don't think it's that much of a cliffhanger, really. So you could probably read this on its own. Read this on its own. Oh, I said it correctly the first time. Did I? It doesn't matter. But you could probably read this on its own. Why is that so difficult to say? I just look past these two unless you really want to read them. I'm not gonna stop you at all, but I would probably not reread these. However, I really fully enjoyed this one a lot. I will say there's the map in the second one. It was not there in the first one. So, but they also travel around a lot in the second one, like a lot. So this is what Belterra looks like, if you want to have a look-see. Whereas in the first one, they basically stay, I actually don't remember anymore. I think they're in the city for the most of it, if they're not in the city for all of it. So maybe that's why there's no map. But anyway, that was my reading month. That was quite a lot. This video is probably going to end up being way too long, and I'm terribly sorry about that. I can't wait to get my fan on. Okay, anyway. As for my TBR for September, I've actually been focusing more on my October TBR than my September TBR, so I'll probably do a separate video on my October one just for the fun of it, because we are going into the spoopy month, so I just wanted to make sure that everything I read in October was going to be on the spoopy side, on the mystery, thriller, whodunit kind of side, so I was having quite a lot of fun planning that. But for September, I wrote it down, which is why I'm sitting with a notebook. I already went through We Were Liars and also The Kiss Thief, but I'm going to talk about those in this month's wrap-up. And then other than that, I'm planning on reading Black Sun. I started reading Caravel. I'm not that far into it, but I started reading Caravel finally. So I'll be reading those two, but also Black Sun. And then other than that, For the Wolf by Hannah F. Witten? Not written. Hannah F. Witten as well, I think is one of them that I'm gonna read. So we got some fun books to wrap up at the end of this month, September. So yeah. But anyway, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this wrap up. I really truly love making these videos. They are so much fun for me to just sit down and talk to you guys, to the camera. My bun is so off-center. Even if it's stupidly warm in my office and I'm melting. I really enjoy doing these wrap-up videos and I want to talk about books more with you guys as well. So, oh, and also, do you see that package right there? It's from Illumicrate. I got 2 more incoming and we're gonna open them in a video, but it's probably not gonna be until October because I'm waiting for the subscription box to arrive, and also the Night Circus special edition. I managed to get it, so it'll be here at some point. So, but we'll do a triple unboxing of Illumicrates. Yeah, anyway, once they get here, and I'm super excited about that too. If there's anything else reading-wise that you want me to make videos on, please let me know. If you want to watch reading vlogs as well, I would be so up for doing those. So let me know. If you have any suggestions, recommendations, like for books that I should read, let me know as well. I have gathered so many books from you guys actually leaving suggestions. So yeah, keep it going, you guys. Keep it going. But also there's a book haul incoming at some point throughout, a book haul video incoming at some point throughout this month as well, because I have purchased, ordered so many books, so I want to sit down and talk about them with you guys, even though I haven't read most of them, and I hope you guys are looking forward to that too. But that is all. I'm gonna go. I got some other stuff to record. I got work to do. So yeah, but I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a big thumbs up if you did. Also, if you're new here, subscribe. And that is, well, if you want to, you're not forced. Only if you want to. And if you stayed around for, like if you stuck around for the entire video, leave a little star emoji for Caravel with the star right here. Leave a star emoji in the comment section so I know that you stuck around. And yeah, that is all. So I hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!